week, and hopefully everybody gets some tidbits that will really help them and help them grow. And we appreciate every one of you here.
Perfect. And of course, everybody knows Cindy.
Yes.
In this arena.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time and coming and helping, learn more and share more so that everybody's successful. I really appreciate you doing that.
We appreciate you. You're amazing.
All right. So with that, we're going to get rolling here. Right off the chute, we're going to start off with Shane.
Hi, I'm Shane Apel. I've been with ABC for 10, 11 years or so. A lot of you know me or talk to me on the phone. I'm going to start off with what you guys probably talked to me most here the last year. So, I see everybody. It's great.
All right. Thank you very much. So you guys will get to meet the office staff and everything later. We'll introduce those when we get over there. But Shane's got a presentation here that we're going to kick right off with.
All right, so if anybody needs Wi-Fi, we've got it up here, so go ahead and hook it up if you need it. I got this one recording, so is everybody good for Wi-Fi? Yep. So what I'm going to be talking about is this year we rolled out with the mobile out in the field ability to put in contracts, take payments, which is kind of a big deal to be able to do instead of before calling in and relying on someone being available to take the phone call, get it entered, and then you have time constraints as well, between 8 and 5 Central Time to be able to do so. But with the mobile version, you're able to do it at any time that you need to. You can work weekends if you want to. Somebody calls you up and says, hey, I decided I want to go ahead and do this and make a payment now. Now we could do that. There is some limitations because it is mobile with security and things like that, but I'll go over that. I'm recording this, so if I could, all questions at the end, I'll try to touch on everything that I've come across so far, which is a lot. But it is new, so we're all learning it, and hopefully, this time next year, everybody knows it, and it's going to be old hat, and there's not going to be many questions, but we'll get to it. So, of course, the back office, that's one way we call it, or the desktop version is still there. That will always be there because it's necessary to be able to go in and edit things and upload forms and images, put in information, check your projects, see how they're going. The mobile site, the mobile version, is strictly for entering in new clients, creating the new contract, taking payments, and that's it. Once those are entered, you're able to go into the back office, the desktop version, and do any of the uploads that you need to do, any of the contracts, just checking on projects and things. So mobile site, strictly entering in new or existing clients. So with that, you all are familiar with this part of the website. You can go there now just like regular, and then if you click on the mobile site when you're entering in, it'll bring you here. Basically, it's formatted to fit if you're using your phone, which a lot of people do nowadays. It's something we have to kind of get used to, or your tablet. And this only pertains to ABC sales, so any distributor here, this does not pertain to you. You can sleep or something. But Any of the other links on here with resources or news, it's going to take you back to the back office, the desktop version. But if you go to sales, and these links here, like new restaurant, my old or current shift restaurants, print forms are going to take you back to the back office, just the regular website. But the new ad sale will keep it on the mobile version, which this is built for. So we got a new sale in two ways. We got a new advertiser who's never been with you before. You can click here, but if you have already had somebody sign up before in a previous project, you can go to existing advertiser. I'm going to go ahead and click the existing because it's easier for me. So for an existing, if you start typing in their name, the business name, and granted, it has to be really similar or exact the way it was before, so it'll bring it up as you seem like I misspelled, and then it didn't show anything, but now it does. And once I get it all typed in, I can continue. For the existing ones, it will already have stuff populated for me. I can go through, double check to make sure no phone numbers, addresses, or anything like that has changed. So you'll be able to, the business name, the advertiser type. We have a pretty long list of what's available, what type of businesses are out there. Rarely is there anything that's out there that we don't have, that you can't use. If you do find one for some reason that it's not in that drop-down list, call, let me know, but it's gonna be very rare that you can't at least put something in there. And this is, it's necessary because any of the information for this business that we put in, let's say if it is an accountant, the artwork that's used, that ad that we create or that they submit, can go into our digital library. So if you're out there and another accountant wants to see examples, you can pull it up. So it kind of creates its own media library. So that's very important. And of course, address, state, city and zip. For the most part, most zip codes in different cities are going to be there. Sometimes we haven't put it in the system, or Google, depending on what you're using, hasn't updated it yet. But again, rarely nowadays, zip codes are not going to be available in that drop-down list. So once that is all put in and you double checked, make sure everything's right, we'll hit continue. Contact name is going to be mostly the person you've been dealing with, usually the owner. Sometimes it's the manager, but it's really the person that you're going to be talking to most that's most important. You want to put there. If it matters, a buyer's name, if you want to put that in there, that's rare that you'll put a buyer's name in there if it's different. But sometimes it applies depending on the business. You can put just a work phone. A lot of times it's cell phone, but sometimes they get just calls to the business, so you want to put that phone number in there. You don't have to put the cell phone in there, especially if it's going to be the work phone. Just one phone number is usually all that's necessary to be able to get a hold of them, but sometimes they have multiple, so you can put that in there if you like. Anything with asterisks by it is going to be mandatory to put something in there, and there is a way to type in a phone number with the area code, the first 3 digits and the final 4 with the hyphens in there. I don't know if it automatically puts hyphens in.
Yes.
It does. All right, thank you. That's good. Email. Now this one is also a very important thing that we get the emails right, because that's our line of communication. How contracts, how proofs, and everything is done by email for the most part. very little is done by cell phone or text. Sometimes it's helpful. It's an extra bit of work for us to be able to manage that, because we have to try to record everything that we do for proofing purposes, but also to cover our rear ends if something changes and we got evidence of all the transactions that happen. So make sure that that email is correct, and sometimes they're pretty weird emails, but if it isn't correct, we can fix it down the road. It's just a little bit more work involved in doing that, so we try to avoid that. Home address, I'm gonna take that out. That's something that doesn't really apply hardly ever, so that'll probably be removed in the future. Once all of that is put in and double checked, especially the email, but all of it's very important. We'll go ahead and hit continue. Billing address, 99.9% of the time is going to be the same as anything. It doesn't really matter at this point. Same as mailing address. So we'll hit continue past billing and mailing address. Now sometimes you all have multiple projects going on, so we'll have to select which ones that is going on. For me, I'm gonna pick the restaurant that I'm doing, but I wanna make sure that you put it on the right project. If you put it on the wrong project, you know how that goes. It's a start over. We'll have to cancel out and start over. Now, ad position, I'll talk about that for a little bit. When you create a project and you have your layouts, different table sizes, different ad positions, for the most part, you start with a certain layout and number of ads, a certain number of 6x6s, 6x4s, 4x4s, whatever you have going on. With each project, what you create is a shopping cart, and that's what this is working off of, basically. Each ad is part of that shopping cart, which in the drop-down menu, if you pick a certain project, you'll see what's remaining, what ad spots are remaining on that project or that shopping cart. Sometimes you'll see what you are looking for, sometimes you won't. If that ad position or the ad size for that position that you're wanting is not correct, you can override and add that to the shopping cart by making a new one. So the one I want is not there, which is ad position 32. And that's really all I need to put. And I can hit enter or return depending on the device that you're using, Android, tablet, Apple. You hit enter and it will create that spot for you, and you can continue on to the number of tables. Now the number of tables is important to also get that right as well, because sometimes an advertiser just doesn't have the budget to be able to go on all 20 tables that say that this project is doing. So they're going to do 10. So at that point you can put 10 tables and we'll know that they're going to be on 10. That's why their price breakdown is a little different. But for the most part, they're going to hopefully go on all 20. And so we'll need to put that in there. It's part of the contract, so it's important to make sure that we get that right, that the people are getting what they paid for and what they expect.
Can I
Let's
bring
clarify
in for
that.
just, so basically, if you have a restaurant that's 2 sets, so they're gonna buy on one set of 20 and another set of 20, that's what he's talking about there. Of course, if it's just 20, we're not splitting those, but,
Or the other thing that may happen, there are instances where you've got a set, let's say you got a set that's 30 tables, but you got some small ones, and obviously you can't get all 30 advertisers in on the small ones, and so you wanna make sure you have that separated out so that the contract shows exactly what they're getting. So that they don't think if they're getting, if they buy one of the ads, it's not gonna be on all the small ones. It is, say, 25 that they're gonna be on and 5 that they're not, he'll say 25 instead of, so it
Yep.
separates that out.
Yeah, that's right. So it is very important that we make sure that those numbers are correct. Once that is all checked out, it's on the right project, right ad position, and the right amount of tables, we'll hit continue. Now, if it was already in the shopping cart and I pick an ad space that was in the shopping cart, I already knew that it was a 4x4, let's say. That's gonna auto-populate in here, it's gonna know it's a 4x4. But because I created a new ad spot because it wasn't in my layout, maybe I made changes for the customer. Now I can put in what ad size did I sell. You can pick one from the drop-down list, or if it's a custom size, if you scroll down to the bottom, it will show a custom size you can put in, which I'll put one in. The width of it was gonna be, let's say 7 inches, the height is gonna be 3 inches. And that will create a custom ad size for that ad spot that I picked, if it's outside of the normal, what we already sell. After that, you have your ad instructions. Maybe there's something that you can put in there like contact customer for artwork, because they're not gonna be able to supply anything at this time. Or, let's say you do have something, you have a business card, you have images or whatever they may have given you, you can put in there, uploading, if I could type. Uploading images soon, so that support knows when they see this contract, what to do with it. Do we put it on hold until we contact and get a hold of the customer, or are you as a salesperson going to be putting in the information here shortly? So it's nice to know. For the QR, some businesses want a QR, some don't, and if they do, it's good to go ahead and put in an address here, and it'll put the QR that is supposed to be on the contract, and what they're expecting. Once everything is double checked, everything is correct, go ahead and hit continue. Now ad cost, this is very important. Of course, there's gonna be times when, your ad cost, let's say for example, $2,000, but they're gonna pay in full, and so they're gonna get a certain percentage discount. The ad cost that you're gonna put in here is not the $2,000, it's going to be discounted price. So let's say you're giving them a $500 discount from the $2,000 original price, you're gonna put in here $1,500 for the ad. And it's gonna be paid in full, and in the special section, that's where you put your percentage off. I know my calculations are not right, so don't judge. And that's where you let accounting know, so when they see this come through, that they knew that the original price was $2,000, but they're paying $1,500, this is why. They got 15% off, let's say, for paying in full. PIF as a quick way, if you want to type it all out, that's fine. But the example I'm going to show is not paid in full. Paid in full is a simple one. It's easy to do. A little bit more complicated is when they're going to do installments. They're going to do, let's say, pay online installments. They're wanting to do 4 payments. So one thing to keep in consideration, always a deposit. That deposit is going to be part of those 4 that they want. So instead of putting 4 in the number of installments, you'll put 3, because that deposit is one of the 4. How much are they depositing? Now you can let the system, based on the $1,500 price, automatically break it up in 4 amounts, or maybe they're gonna pay a little bit more or a little bit less for the deposit, depending on the situation. You can, maybe on this one, they're gonna do 500, which it will break down the remaining 3 months of $333.33. Does that all, well, I'll come back to that, but I'm hoping that all makes sense. That's very vital that if you put in 4 instead of 3, it's actually gonna be $250 in 4 months. But really, it's 5 months because you're paying this month, and then they're gonna pay next month, and next month, and next month, and next month. It's 5 months, so it's very important. If that mistake is made beyond this point, it changes things because your contract is gonna view as basically 4 payments after the deposit. And it's very important that either we have to cancel and start over, or make sure the customer is okay with this. Maybe there was a mistake made. We'll get to that here shortly. Once everything is checked over, cost important, the type of installment, if not paid in full, the number of installments, and the deposit, the special, any information you can give accounting is going to be helpful. Once that is all checked over, now you get finished. Now there's no going back. It's set in stone. So we'll have to start over pretty much at this point because it changes the contract, and that's important. Darn it. So I'll go ahead and say this while this is doing its thing. I think the Wi-Fi might be having some issues. Is that when you're out there doing sales, sometimes you don't have service. You don't have very good service. So this won't work for you very well. It's always good to go ahead and have the hard copies on hand at all times. Now, if you prefer it that way, whether you have service or not, that is okay. Because when you go back to the back office, or when you're doing the signature part here, which hopefully will come up pretty soon, you're able to upload your hard copy to the system. It shows the signature and everything we need to do this. So there's nothing really wrong with that as long as you supply us with those hard copies. You don't need to mail anything in. This was really built to mitigate phone calls and mail-in stuff, because that takes time and costs more money. So you can take a picture of it, upload it, scan it, upload it, and I'll show you that pretty soon, hopefully. I don't know what's wrong with that. I think maybe it's come back.
So when you're saying uploading a copy, are you saying upload it into the sign now as their signature, or uploading it in the back office?
Yeah, and the sign now portion is just the signature. So if you were able to kind of get close to that area and just get the signature, that's great. I've never tried to load a full page to that to see how it reacts. I think it's more so getting a close-up of that signature on the sign now. If you got a signature in hard copy, you can just type in their name, digitally create the signature, and then on the back office, upload that contract once this is all said and done.
Yeah, so let me make sure I'm clear. So let's say I've got bad service, I can't do it in real time when I'm selling the ad, so I fill out a hard copy of the PO, take it back to the hotel or whatever later where I've got Wi-Fi. Now I can put it in the system and I can take that hard copy, original PO that was signed, go to my back office and upload that document and it'll match, and you've got a signature instead of a digital recreation.
Well, you'll have to put it all in there like normal. within the mobile site. Don't put in contracts the old way. You can do that, but it won't match everything up properly. That's mostly for the back office or us internally to do some editing, if mistakes happen or, misspellings, if there's some information the customer gives us that we need to update, maybe an address or something very minor. That's really for us. Any information is going to need to be done through the mobile site. So you did the hard copy, you go there, you get on the mobile site, you do all the steps that I showed you. It'll create that contract, and then you're able to upload in the back office that contract that you had signed in person.
It's that effectively you have to, because you get to the signature portion of the digitally created contract in this payment system, it won't let you advance unless you have something in that signature block.
But you can make a signature.
Yeah, there's three ways, which I'll show you.
Yeah, you can click, like you said, make the signature, and that's what I'm saying is that, you can do that, and then later, in the back office, upload a document, which is that original contract that the customer signed, and the office will be able to, marry it together, so, okay, I got the digital, but I got an authentic signature from that customer.
Yes.
This way. Okay.
Mhm.
So if we're using a hard copy, not doing one in front of a customer on our tablet or whatever, do you want us to upload the hard copy in the back office or not?
Yes. Yeah, that way, we're not asking for it, you're not mailing it in or anything like that. There's multiple ways to get it in. Easiest, like for me, is take a picture of it real nice with my cell phone, upload.
This is the way we did it before. Makes sense.
And I guess if we did it in that sequence, like Stan just said, you loaded the contract the customer signed first in the back office, so when I get to this stage, when I'm entering it in, then I can do the digital signature, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Because you've got an authentic signature from that customer on file, so.
That's right.
Gotcha, no worries.
Thank you.
So I've noticed when you put the number of tables in there on the time contract, that pops up on this.
Mhm.
The number of tables is blank.
It's filling in real time now.
It is now, yeah. Before it wasn't, yeah, but it is now.
Yes.
If it doesn't, when you do the next one, let me know. There's something wrong there. All right. So once we have finished, this box will pop up. Now it's time to sign and pay. Sign Now, similar to DocuSign, the two largest basic contract companies in the world, in America at least. We'll get started. Everything should be okay at this point. If you see a mistake now, it's a little late. We need to more so cancel this, redo it, come back. Yeah, we are. Thank you. But yeah, it shows the number of tables now up there on the thing. I know it wasn't before.
So Shane, what number are we calling if we make a mistake, we want to get it canceled?
Any of the numbers, that you have, you send to the office. When you click on the signature field, you have three options. One is to type it in, which is mostly what's gonna happen. Or if you're right there with them and they wanna sign it, you can click on draw your signature, which, that's my doctor's signature. It's pretty great. You can do it that way. Or upload signature. Like I said, I don't know if it'll upload a full sheet and accept it. It might. That's something I have to test. I just haven't got to do that yet. But if you have a smaller image of the person's signature, that will work too. Hit upload and do it that way.
Can I ask one question? Can you just make a picture of the signature at the bottom, since it already puts the contract and that basic information?
Yes, that's ideal, yeah. If you don't like this style of font, you can change it. I don't know why it defaults to that, but that's what the system does.
Pretty.
And I'll hit sign. It's way better than my signature. After it's all signed and done, we hit finish. It's gonna finalize that contract, and we're gonna move on to the payment.
Is it sending a copy yet?
Yeah. Yep. Once that signature and you hit finish and move on, a copy to support, to the salesperson, and to accounting is sent. We don't automatically send that to the customer at this stage. We could, but it's best because our mistakes might happen and stuff that we don't do that just yet until things are going 100%. But if the customer requires it or asks for it, it's real easy. We'll send it to them, click of the button, not a problem. Now we're at the payment system, or Stripe.
What are you allowed to do with $5
Now, this is paid in full, I'm cheap.
So you said it's as easy as clicking a button to send the contract?
You have to email it to the customer. If their email in the back office for us, if their email is correct, all we gotta do is pretty much click a button and it sends the contract to
Is that
them.
something we need to ask you guys to do for us?
Since you get the copy of it, you can just forward that message on to your client as well. So, make sure you check your spam because it is an image, and make sure you accept that from ABC. Sometimes they'll go to spam and you need to fix that. At this point, there's a couple different ways that people are gonna make payments. Of course, we have the card. We've all done this before, you know, not just here, but in life, so we know what it takes for the credit card number, expiration, the security code, name on the card, if it's a name or the business, depending on which.
Full name, initials, everything.
Yeah, just the way it appears on the card. If it's the first initial and last name, yeah, go ahead and do that. If you don't get the initial, I don't think that's ever kicked back that I've ever seen, but you could. Nowadays, who knows? This section here, the save my info, one click, that shouldn't really be there. I'm working on trying to get that removed. It's nothing you wanna mess with. Hopefully, by the end of this week, that will be gone, so. The second way to pay is the US bank account or by check. A lot of people, a lot of clients will wanna pay with a check, which now you can accept it. So instead of necessarily filling that out, mailing that in, there's that time frame it takes to mail and get that into us, and then it's time to process it, and it's time to send it to the bank, and for the bank to process it. For us to process it this way compared to the older way, it's about the same. I don't know, it just depends on the banks. You know, each bank is different on how they process things security-wise, because this is different. I won't get into how long it takes to get paid out. That is not up for me to discuss, but I will tell you the difference is security. You are taking payments now around the nation on your phone, and banks take notice of that. So you have to expect for them to take a little bit more time to go, okay, is this legitimate or not? It is part of the caveat at having this feature and being able to do this on a Saturday when we're not available, but it's what banks do, and each one is different. That's all really I can speak to that, but like a bank account, they put in their name, their routing number, account number, make sure everything is correct, you'll be able to process a check.
Change that business.
Yes. It is very necessary to change that business to business, that account type to business, because if you do it in personal, there is a chance that they will do a micro deposit, which will delay, cause issues with the customer will have to accept it, and it's a mess to have to deal with. So make sure that business is always selected. Thank you for that.
That full name is the bank, not the person.
No, the routing number and account number
So what do
will
you want in the
take
full
care of
name?
that.
What do you want in that box of full name?
Whatever's on the check. So if it's a person's name that's on the check, you put that person's name or the business name that's on the check. If both are on there, you choose. But once all that information is put in, click pay. On checks, a good thing is it'll say pending, because that means it's processing, it's sent that information to the bank, and their bank is going to accept it or decline it, depending on the security measures the banks take. So pending is good.
I would sure make a suggestion that you communicate to the customer now that we are electronically depositing these, because it does send them a receipt from this. And I've had a couple of them come on, hey, what's this thing here on my check? So,
Yeah.
and since I've started communicating to them, I can say, hey, we do deposit these electronically now, not through the bank. And they go, okay, no problem, but it's nice if you tell them.
Yeah, and depending on the bank, and like I'm at Simmons Bank, I don't know how far stretched Simmons is from Sedalia, but it's nationally recognized. So if I get or I make a payment somewhere, Simmons Bank will send me a text, because that's the way I have my banking account set up, and say, hey, do you approve this? Because it's not, your normal break time gas station purchase. So I will say yes, everything is good to go, the payment will go through. If I say no, it will decline it and block it. So it really depends on your client, where you're at. The small rural banks probably don't have that feature yet.
I don't know if any of the rest of you guys heard what Stan was saying, but basically, if you take a check and you're gonna go home and put this into the system and put the check information in there, make sure to tell your customer that we do this digitally now, so you may get a notice that it went through your bank when I put it in this afternoon when I get home. So they don't go, what's this for, or like he said, they might get a text going, hey, such and such, just so they remember and they know what the deal is. They don't go decline it.
If they prefer to hand you a check, I would personally suggest that they do know that you're going to do it digitally, and they also, maybe even right there, write void across it. Because once you process it, I don't know, I'll let somebody else speak to that, but I would shred it or something. I wouldn't hold on to anything like that for security purposes at all. But as long as they see that they have voided it, no bank's gonna take that.
But we're no longer mailing checks?
No.
No longer mailing a check. Once it's put into the system,
About a picture, have to send to the county or anyone?
no.
You'll put it in just like a credit card.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, on both ways, once you hit pay, you're good to go. You'll get a message whether or not the client has insufficient funds. We'll have to correct that. Sometimes the bank doesn't really know what's going on. Most of the time when that happens, the bank has a security feature, and the customer will have to go ahead and call the bank and say, hey, I approve this. And then if they get a teller, they can fix that for them really quick. And then you'll try that payment again, and it'll go through right there with the customer.
I really try to get credit
Yeah.
Does it get us to a lot easier?
And sometimes, like I said, they'll get a message on their phone and they'll approve it or deny it at that point as well. It just depends on the banks, they're all different. If you have a question about it, if anything went through or did everything look good, you're welcome to call into the office. Support is able to see if that transaction went through and everything's good, thumbs up, you can move on, or myself, you can ask for me. No problem, I'll be able to tell you pretty easy.
So Shen, you'll know right away whether the correct check was cleared, so we don't shred something before we should?
Well, checks are a little different. I can see that it's pending, but that's a positive. After it's pending, after a couple of days of the bank processing that payment, what happens beyond that, I would defer to accounting if you have any questions.
Doesn't the, system, if they went to projects, that restaurant, that customer, at the bottom it says successful and the amount?
That's something we can see, yes.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have to call in, you can just go there and look down at the bottom and it says that. Also, let's go to your projects and then go to the ads and go to that customer, open it up and go down to the bottom. You'll see that it's successful and the amount that it went through. Also, your picture of your contracts there. So if your customer wants a picture, you know, an invoice, it's there so you can download it and be able to email it to them.
How can you process all that? Does it send a receipt to them automatically?
It doesn't right now because they're, you know, everybody's learning the system, so if there's a mistake or something, we don't wanna send that to them yet. So it's gonna be at the bottom.
You can send that to them.
Yes, if they ask for one, you can send one to them. Yep.
Yeah, receipts and contracts can be easily sent to them, just let us know, and we'll do that.
It's kinda like if you buy something online, the same
Clarification, so
thing, you know, it's gonna come in your car.
Just download a copy of the contract along with the check into the client's, profile. And then I don't have to worry about sending a picture of just, and Kathy, so we can system that. So that eliminates the need to do that. Otherwise, sign, smoke on the water, Bill's bike shop. If I just enter the contract in there, then I know I have to take a snapshot of that, email it in, so that's what my email would be.
You hit a couple points there. So for the contract, you did a hard copy.
Yes, sir.
After you do the mobile version and it creates that, yeah, you just upload, which I'm gonna show you here real quick.
Where's the success at?
Well, I don't have a good example. I'll try to, so that advertiser myself that I just did is now in the back office, which I just navigated to. You can see all the information when you get there of the client. And you see the ad contract that was made. Just maybe you didn't get in your email, which you should have gotten your email, or you lost it. You can see that contract that's there. Support has it, you don't have to mail that in. Accounting has it, you don't have to mail that in. And you can send it to the client at that point if you want. So it's all there. If you need to download it, you can. Down here at the bottom is going to be where you can see the transaction, the payment, if it's successful, if it failed, where this change history is. It's going to be a little bit different wording for you. My account's different setup because I'm admin for the site, so I see different things, but at this point, after you get it all entered in, now you can upload your different documents, like maybe they have, you have their logo and you need to upload, so you have a copy image, you wanna navigate and upload that. The contract, if you have a hard copy, you would select contract, find out where that file is, and upload that.
Are you on the desktop?
Yeah, I'm on the desktop or back office version right now. So yeah, if you got a hard copy, down here at the bottom, scroll down, and that's where you upload your ad contract that you did. And that just gives us a digital or a real signature because you did it the other way, the old school way, so. Anyway. One of the things that would happen, and I'll try to touch this, there's gonna be some questions that I've had in the past about it, is if you're trying to do it and your service messes up or you time out, and you get the contract done, but you weren't able to get to the payment. Maybe there was a glitch or something like that, so you didn't get to the Stripe payment portion. Now if you scroll down to the bottom, you can go to start a new payment process. So it'll allow you to finish what you started. Instead of calling in going, "Hi Shane, the system kicked me out. What do I do?" Now you can take this payment, the deposit really is what it is, or the payment in full. It's not for like a second payment. Like if you've already accepted the deposit and then a couple days later they go, "Oh, here, I got some more money." Don't go this way to do it. You need to call in at that point. This is just to finish up the initial contract that you started. If you go this route and try to take another payment or something like that, it will double up in the system. And they'll be paying more money and we'll have to refund, and that's no fun. Each transaction, each contract, and each Stripe payment that you make costs money. There's a percentage that it costs. So it's vital that the contract that you do and that you sign is correct the first time. Because each one of those costs money. And then just like any credit card transaction like you make at a grocery store or whatever, there is a charge for that, and we're getting charged every time that you do it. So if we have to refund the amount, the customer gets the full amount, but we don't. And then we have to do it again, and there's charges on top of that. So it's very important that everything is looked over 2-3 times, slow down, and get it right the first time. Now, if there's stuff that's out of control that you can't help, that's understandable, that's gonna happen. But if you all have any questions or anything so far, yes?
I wanna ask a question for Rebecca.
Sure.
No, because she brought this up when we were driving here, is that what if you have a split payment, someone's splitting you a 6x6, and there's 2 different credit cards, how are you splitting that up into the system?
Anything beyond a single credit card or a single check has to be manually put in. You have to call in for that. That's just the way with any payment system that you do. It's got to be manually put in, especially this way. At which point,
Does that, is what the way I took that question was, they took it out and they were splitting it, so now you got 20A and 20B, wouldn't that be 2 separate contracts?
should, yes.
Yeah, if you're actually splitting the ad that way, then it would be 2 separate entries.
Yeah.
2 separate entries, so you have 20A and 20B.
If it's the same advertiser and they're just wanting half of it to go on one card and half of it on the other card, that's where you have to call in and.
Yes. Yeah, split ads will have to be 2 separate contracts. So if it's spot number 12, you type in there for the ad position, 12A, enter, and the second one be 12B, enter. That way we know, and support and graphics when we design that.
You have to have a signature for every card, you might fit that situation, I've been told before you have to have a signature, on the card.
Yeah, it'd be 2 separate contracts, so yes, yeah.
The other thing with that is if they're buying, a customer, maybe a husband and wife have 2 different businesses, or the business is buying 2 ads, so you're talking about 2, let's say they buy 6x6, so you've got, $3,000 twice. Some of your credit cards will flag it if you've got that big of amount going through twice. So the thing that we found that works is to put the one in, and in the special, so accounting knows that, you know, here's $6,000, 3,000 goes to this person, okay? So you'll put the one in and you'll put it all under one, so it doesn't flag it, you know, for trying to hit that credit card twice for big amounts. And then it'll process through, and then put your other one in, and when it gets to the money part, you'll just basically, you know, close out of it and not do the money part, because you've already done it. Okay, so that it won't flag you on that.
Do you have a question?
Yes, you're talking about billing address and mailing address. Does the billing address on the contract that you're putting in, does it tie to the credit card for approval?
No.
I got a couple of questions.
Yeah, no, I don't believe so. I've never had one come back when the contract not matching up to the credit
I
card.
was always asking them and putting in things like if they had the credit card go to their home and the business address was a mailing address, I was putting in like that. So I don't know if it would
Not that I've seen, no.
So a couple of times I've got, used it multiple times, got to the end, I click, finish and pay, and it just goes, everything just goes away. And then have to go to the add on the paper and do the process. Is that just a glitch in the system or what's?
There's multiple reasons for that. Sometimes depending on how long you took to get from the start to that point. Because there is a security feature that we have to have where after a certain amount of time, even if you're active, there's still a security feature on there. So if you took a little bit longer, let's say more than 30 minutes, I think that's probably right around where we're at, but I'm not 100% sure. It will kick you out. Or if there was an interruption in your connection in any way, like when we're sitting here doing this now, the internet went down. I had to basically re-enter, I didn't have to, but I did it for my own purposes, re-enter that stuff in there and go back to the contract and go back to the payment system. So there's glitches in your connection, that's gonna happen.
So this has happened multiple times, and I've talked about others, but it hasn't been too. When you're filling out the top part of the contract, you put the amount in. When you get to the end, it comes up on the paper contract, it comes up on here, shows the back office contract, it'll show two different amounts. It'll show the correct amount, and it'll show some random amount that just popped in there.
If you, for some reason, enter in the information through the desktop site, it will put in a number that was associated with the original breakdown of the number of tables, the number of ads and everything. The system, depending on how we set it up, will auto price ads. And so in the back office, it will kind of show that stuff, and a lot of it's for internal purposes and everything, and so that number will get in there, and unless you change it and look at it, then that's what it'll be. But then at that point too, you're putting it into the system wrong to begin with. It's supposed to only be going through the mobile version. The mobile version does not put in any price. What will happen is, sometimes, depending on how much you type on your phone or tablet and how you have it set up, it has cookies or cache or whatever, and it will auto fill certain things. Not all things, but certain things, and every device is different. Some people need to turn that off, but I find it handy, but it also can be a pain, especially when I'm putting in addresses. It's a pain, but
This particular one, I sold Friday. It's happened other times, but this particular one I sold Friday. I was going through the, not back office, the other side. I put in $2,600 for a 6x6. And I got to the end and finished it up, came up on the contract and said $2,250. I've never sold a 6x6 ad for $2,250.
before you leave out of here, I'll walk through it with you one-on-one. That way I can see exactly what's happening and we can fix that. Any other questions so far?
So, is there ever gonna be a cell phone version where we don't have to sit there and do this?
Well, it is a mobile version.
It doesn't work on my phone.
She's talking about the desktop portion.
Oh, the desktop?
Looking
No.
at ads and things like
Like
that.
when I'm sending people their ad
it's hard to, it's something that we've already built and that we use every day on desktop. If we, at the office, for the most part, used the website in the back office on our phones, then it would be advantageous to make it mobile, but we don't. It's all desktop, and that's kind of the way it's formatted. You have to build a completely new website, and that's big time.
It's so much information too, just like on a desktop, when you pull up your layout, if you don't have it big enough, it won't open because it's not enough space. And it would do the same thing a lot on your phone, because a lot of these files are so big. So really, it needs to be done on a laptop, a tablet, something bigger than a phone, as far as doing any work in the, on the desktop site.
Well, mostly what I do is just upload, like I'll be at the store or whatever, and I'm
Right.
having to do it out there in the field versus at home.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Or I have to text people. I wish that I had a way to text them their images, on my phone versus, without having to.
Without having to take a picture.
Yeah.
Screenshot.
But anyways.
Yeah, as far as the back office is concerned, no less than a tablet would be ideal, that's just the way
I'm not
it's
big
built.
enough.
Any other questions? Going once? Yes.
On this project, I had, 3 different businesses, and what, I ended up doing all my 6x6s were going on, so they wanted a larger pad. So I worked with Cindy, and they bought a 4x10, so they bought a 4x4, 6x4.
Mhm.
And then it's, moved into a single ad. So when I enter that in there, and do the custom size, I select. say-
10 width and 4 height, yeah.
Yeah, so what happens to that other ad? Does that impact, how does that impact the layout? So when we're selecting one, but it's gonna be a larger one. But I don't have to worry about that, right? 'Cause it's just,
No.
it'll take care of that in the layout and all in the background.
Yeah, it's something we have to do manually in the back office, like for your case, that's what me and Cindy did, was we went to the layout designer and changed the
Right.
shopping cart. Before, our parameters were the basic, like 6x6, is like the biggest size. But on your case, I know like it wasn't showing up, correctly, like on the layout, because the parameters we had on the website didn't support 10-inch ad, 4x10-inch ad. So I got that fixed already. But yeah, any custom size, it's not gonna affect the layout on the fly, but you can let us know what you did, and we can adjust it on the layout for you. Or you can, if you have time, you wanna play with it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather do it myself instead of, someone else busy. So what about when you split it in? It says, 6x4.
Mhm.
You have 9A and 9B. So how do you go about doing that? Creating 2 6.
Like on the layout designer portion,
Yeah,
I can show you that.
okay.
They don't have anything set up really good to show you right now, but in the office or something I can.
All right, because I mean, obviously I have to do Cindy's from help, so I was just wondering if I can do that, eliminate that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, once you figure it out, like
Okay.
anything.
Cindy, please stay home.
Yeah, we can definitely teach you how to split those and save it for all of them. One thing is if you're making bigger ads or splitting ads, either way, and you're the one that prints off your layout as you go to always have a nice clean copy to show people, then you wanna let us know so that that ad does pop up in there. And then at the end, it makes it nice for the office, cause then they have what we call a who goes where or what goes where, layout already, where you unless it's already those spots that are there, and you're just taking up what's already there and just make it bigger, no problem. But if you're wanting to add, like everybody's calling, hey, can we fit another 6x6? Can we fit another 6x6? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't, but we do have to look at all the sizes in order to see if that's gonna fit in there.
Yep. Any other questions? Did I miss anything?
Tell them about, if you spend too much time, the site will kick you out.
Yes, yeah, any amount of time, especially over 30 minutes, the site will kick you out for security purposes. I mean, you are connecting to our server, and it's one of the features to try to keep us safe. We don't want to be hacked. So,
The only thing you didn't cover was remote signature. Is that still in the works?
yes, so one of the things, like if you remotely are thinking for customers you're not gonna see face to face, maybe they call you, you call them, and they're like, yes, I want it. Here shortly, within next week or two, we'll have the ability to, when you fill out the contract and it's ready to sign, you can hit send to client, and it'll send that contract to them, they'll sign it and send it back. That's going to also help a lot with hard copies, I think, as well, instead of not maybe needing those, but I don't know, we'll see.
So will that replace the need for DocuSign?
Yes.
For you? I would
Well,
think
for
so.
me, nothing's gonna help.
I would say, yeah, it should. Kathy, was there anything you wanted me to speak on or say?
Nope, you did good. Nope,
Oh,
you
remember
got
that.
us back there. You did good.
It's recorded.
Yes, it is. You all have anything?
No, the one thing I will say that on, as far as a mobile phone number, those are great to keep a hold of for yourself or put into the system, as far as I like to have it, because sometimes getting at approvals, sometimes it's easier if you text the owner, you know, because you're not getting responses. That's a great way to be able to get that sped up. Also, when you're coming back the next year, having that contact, because sometimes you can go in and the owner's not there, he's not there, and you're just trying to get with him to see if they're gonna be on the next project, right? He's a previous advertiser. So having that mobile cell phone is good for a connection point, either getting approvals or being able to contact the person that you really need to contact.
I'm gonna
Right.
add to that, though, if we are having a problem collecting, they accidentally answer their cell phone before they will accidentally answer their business phone, or somebody will give them a message. And then we have a way of getting in contact with them, so it helps the accounting department a lot to have that secondary phone.
Yeah, mobile is huge, I can tell you that, because a lot of people don't look at